Okay, so members of the Board of Trustees Committee, please respond present when you hear your name. Chairperson Thompson.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Barry Schwartz is going to be delayed. He texted me. Trustee Michael Arvanites is absent and excused. Trustee Berger.
Present.
Trustee Clark.
Present.
Trustee Cortez Vasquez. Trustee Ferrer.
Yeah.
Trustee Kim.
Present.
Trustee Linares Garcia.
Present.
Trustee Mojica.
Present.
Trustee Oberfell.
Present.
Trustee O'Donnell Tormey.
Present.
Trustee Shorter. He was there. He may be muted.
Unmuted.
I know. We have to unmute him. Trustee Sunshine.
Present.
Trustee Wilkin.
Present.
Trustee Burke.
Present.
And Trustee Hunter.
Present.
And Trustee Shorter, did you unmute?
I did. I'm present.
Excellent. Okay. You have a quorum. Great.
All right. This public special board meeting of the City University of New York's Board of Trustees is now called to order. On March 7th, 2020, Governor Cuomo issued Executive Order 202 declaring a state of emergency in response to the COVID-19 outbreak. On March 3rd, 2020, Governor Cuomo issued Executive Order 202.1, which included a suspension of law allowing the attendance of meetings telephonically or other similar service. Article 7 of the Public Officers Law, to the extent necessary to permit any public body to meet and take such actions authorized by the law without permitting in-person access to meetings and authorizing such meetings to be held remotely by a conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceeding and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. In accordance with the executive order, this board meeting is being held via teleconference, with a live found at the CUNY Board of Trustees website, as well as on CUNY TV, Channel 75. A copy of the calendar is also available online at the CUNY Board of Trustees website. Additional items may be added during the meeting. As a reminder, please mute your phone so we can ensure that everyone can hear. I'd also like the Secretary to take a roll call attendance for members of the Chancellery.
So members of the Chancellery, just respond present when you hear your name. Chancellor Matos Rodriguez.
Present.
General Counsel and Senior Vice Chancellor for Legal Affairs, Derek Davis.
Present.
Executive Vice Chancellor and University Provost, Jose Luis Cruz.
Present.
Hector Batista. Sorry, Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Operating Officer, Hector Batista. Sorry, Hector.
That's okay. Present.
Senior Vice Chancellor for Institutional Affairs, Strategic Advancement and Special Counsel, Glenda Grace.
Present. Thank you.
Senior Vice Chancellor and Chief Financial Officer, Matthew Sapienza.
Present.
Senior Vice Chancellor for Labor Relations, Pamela Silverblatt.
Present.
Vice Chancellor and University Chief Information Officer, Brian Cohen.
Present.
Vice Chancellor for Communications and Marketing, Maite Unco.
Present.
Vice Chancellor for Risk Audit and Compliance, Richard White.
Present.
Vice Chancellor for Human Resources Management, Dorian Gloria.
Present.
Interim Vice Chancellor for University Advancement, Andrea Shapiro Davis.
Present.
Great.
Thank you, Gail. And if anyone else has joined the roll, they should just chime in and let us know that they're there.
Lorraine, I'm sorry, I was having a hard time with the internet upstate.
No problem.
I'm here.
It's okay. We just want to make sure that you were there. Perfect.
Excellent.
Let's now turn to the items requiring a vote today. Given that all board members are participating remotely, I'll read the resolutions and ask for members to respond only if you would like to abstain, oppose an item. Otherwise, your vote will be recorded as a yes vote. If you're voting no or abstaining, please state your name and vote. Additionally, if you wish to second an item or have any questions, please state your name first for the record, and let's try to avoid speaking over one another. Item number 1, City University of New York, approval to support extension and continuance of the online and distance learning instructional modality for the delivery of courses in degree and non-degree programs and the offering of remote support services for the upcoming fall 2020 semester. Before we get to that, I'd like to propose an amendment to that item, and I'd like to have the secretary read that the amendments to the item. I guess secretary is going to be reading a bit of that.
Right, there are a couple of amendments. Yep. So hopefully if you can stop me if it's not clear. But in the title of the resolution, you should add the word before online, continuance of the offering of online and distance learning. Next would be in the last whereas paragraph, the sentence that midway where it says that the university should extend the current online, delete extend the current, and add be prepared for a scenario where online and distance learning then stays. Again, add in the next sentence, and remote support services add as necessary for as many of the university's academic courses. Later on in that sentence, where it says with the possibility of, delete extending the same and replace it with extension of this need. So the whole whereas will read as follows. Sorry, I'll just take a moment because that's confusing.
That's fine.
In light of the current unpredictable nature of the COVID-19 virus and the possibility that an increase in cases is always possible until long-term health solutions are available, the university believes that out of an abundance of caution and in the interest of the health, safety, and welfare of our students, faculty, and staff, the university should be prepared for a scenario where online and distance learning modality and remote learning modality and remote support services are necessary for as many of the university's academic courses and services that would be reasonably practicable for the fall 2020 semester, with the possibility of extension of this need to the spring 2021 semester, depending upon the status of the COVID-19 pandemic emergency and the prevailing circumstances and concerns at that time. Now, at this point, I'm going to add 2 new whereas clauses. The first reading, whereas the preference of the university is to offer in-person instruction and services to students for the fall 2020 semester where practicable and prudent and where authorized, and only to the extent necessary to have instruction or services provided online or remotely. And whereas it is recognized that in supplement to or in place of in-person instruction and services, online or remote instruction and services may become the preferred method of faculty and students and may ultimately become necessary by order or by public health circumstances. And then in the resolved paragraph, the word decision immediately after the university's decision, that word should be replaced with the word preparation. So it'll be the university endorses the Board of Trustees endorses the university's preparation for, preparation to extend the offering. Okay, and then the same thing in the next resolved. The word decision after university should be replaced with preparation. And immediately after little I, the word in the explanation, offering, right after that should read the option of classes. And just a last change, before the word thus, we're going to put a semicolon and make that a small t. Those are the changes.
Okay, thank you, Gail.
I know, sorry.
I'd like to introduce item number as. Do I have a second?
Second. Oberfeld seconds.
At this point, am I able to just vote on this item now?
As amended,
Yeah.
yep. Yes,
Okay.
as amended.
Then, any discussion on this item? Okay, we'll now vote. So please only respond if you'd like to abstain or oppose item number 1 as amended. That item is approved. Item number 2, the City University of New York, approval of an amended June 2020 Committee on Faculty, Staff, and Administration report. May I have a second for this?
Berger, second.
All right. Is there any discussion on the item? We'll now vote. Please only respond if you'd like to abstain or oppose. That is approved. We have an added item today. Let me call on the secretary to present item number 3.
Okay, so item number 3 is a resolution authorizing the university to negotiate and amend existing residence hall agreements to reflect the reduction in the demand for student residential housing and student occupancy for the upcoming fall 2020 semester. Whereas the City University of New York, the university, announced effective on March 19, 2020, in response to the threat presented by the spread of the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, and an effort to reduce the density of faculty, staff, and students on the university campuses, that all university academic courses would be moved online or alternatively to a distance learning modality. And whereas on March 20th, 2020, Governor Andrew M. Cuomo announced Executive Order 202.6, or the New York State Pause Executive Order, a 10-point policy directive, which executive order included a directive that all non-essential businesses statewide must close in-office personnel functions and temporarily ban all non-essential gatherings of individuals of any size for any reason. And whereas the university reduced the student occupancy of its residence halls for the remainder of the spring 2020 semester as a result of the New York State pause and the COVID-19 pandemic health emergency, and whereas as a result of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic health emergency, the university's colleges and schools offering student housing in both an on-campus and off-campus residence hall setting are experiencing a reduction in demand for student housing for the fall 2020 semester. And whereas the university intends to continue the extension of its offering of academic programs and curricula in an online and distance learning modality format for the fall 2020 semester. And whereas the effect of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic health emergency and the university's extension of the offering of academic programs and curricula in an online and distance learning modality format will, in fact, likely result in a reduced occupancy of students in university residence halls. And whereas the university has determined that it is in the best interest of the university's colleges and schools to negotiate and execute such amendments and agreements as such university, college, or school deems necessary and appropriate with the relevant leasehold owners and managers of such university residence halls to mitigate the negative financial impact such reduction in student occupancy of the residence halls will have on such colleges and schools, and in turn the university. And whereas the university, out of an abundance of caution and in an effort to continue to further reduce the density of individuals on the university campuses during the fall 2020 semester, and in an effort to further reduce the threat of the spread of COVID-19 virus, has determined that the reduction in the number of university students occupying the university residence halls is in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the students, faculty, and staff who may otherwise be on campus during the fall 2020 semester. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the university to negotiate and amend any and all relevant residence hall agreements to which the university is a party, and which the university deems necessary and appropriate to mitigate the potential negative financial impact or reduction in demand for student residence hall housing might otherwise have on the various university colleges and schools for the fall 2020 semester, and that the chancellor and or his designee be and they hereby are authorized, empowered, and directed to take any and all such action as he or his designee deems necessary and appropriate to give effect to the foregoing resolution, and that such action by such officer of the university be conclusive evidence of his or her authority to act on behalf of the university. And be it further resolved that the university's general counsel be and he hereby is authorized to enter into any and all such agreements, instruments, and documents as he deems reasonably necessary and appropriate to give effect to the foregoing resolution, including any such modification, amendment, or change to an existing leasehold agreement relating to a university dormitory or residential housing space, and that such execution, seal, and delivery of any such agreement, instrument, or document by the general counsel shall be evidence of his authority to perform such acts and execute and deliver such documents on behalf of the university. Explanation: the university, through these resolutions, recognizes that as a result of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic health emergency, one, there is a current reduction in demand for student residence hall housing for the upcoming fall 2020 semester. Two, a reduction in demand in student residence hall housing would likely have a negative financial impact on the relevant university, college, or school, and in turn the university. And three, a reduction in the a reduction in the density and the number of individuals on the university campuses during this period is in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the students, faculty, and staff of the university. And four, in order to mitigate the potential negative financial impact this reduction in demand for student housing might otherwise have, it is imperative that the university negotiate with its leasehold owners and managers to address such events at this time.
That was easy for you to say. Let me make a motion to add item 3 to our agenda. May I have a second?
Second.
All right, that has been added. Let me now present item 3. May I have a second for that?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on this item.
Sure.
I was listening to the presentation, should I understand that once these leases will have been renegotiated, reviewed, or executed, that will be the last time the trustees see them?
Mr. Davis?
Not necessarily, sir, Mr. Ferrer. If you'd like to see them, in fact, these will be limited amendments. We are only trying to amend these for the upcoming academic period, but certainly we'd be happy to report back out to Fiscal Affairs the next appropriate time the results of our efforts to try to mitigate these financial issues.
Well, I appreciate that. The import of my question is, are we delegating our authority to finally approve these things?
In essence, you are. You're delegating because we don't know which ones we will have to technically amend, and because many of them you already are subject, you authorized originally. Yes, you're giving us the ability in the short period of time that we have to amend and modify these so that we can mitigate the financial impact to the university.
Just wanted to make that clear. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the explanation, and I would also appreciate a report back to Fiscal Affairs on how all these renegotiations began and ended up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I support that. That's very good. Thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
And I believe, as I said, that who is the person be reporting back to us on these renegotiations. Before that, as I said, let me have a second for this item.
Second is Shirley.
Okay. Any additional discussion on the item? And we'll now vote. Please only respond if you'd like to abstain or oppose. All right, that item is approved. There being no further business, I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
There we go. All right, thank you all. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye, Gal. Good work, Gal.
Thank you.